higher education in the West Bank. Yes, as you just heard, this webinar is going to be recorded. This webinar is part of the Education, Occupation and Liberation series, co-hosted by the University and College Union and Friends of Palestinian Universities, which is the new name for Friends of Birzeit University. Understandably, the genocide in Gaza means that Gaza has dominated the headlines in the UK in the past 2 years, a period in which Gazan universities have been nearly entirely destroyed. However, this means that less attention has been given to Israeli actions in the West Bank and their effects, including on higher education, and this is the focus of today's session. The webinar will examine how the Israeli occupation systematically disrupts academic life in the West Bank. We are privileged to be joined by two distinguished academics from West Bank universities who will highlight different aspects of the ways in which Israel suppresses Palestinian academic freedom, isolates West Bank universities from global engagement, and disrupts their day-to-day functioning in a process known as scholasticide. Scholasticide, a term coined by the Palestinian scholar Karma Nabulsi, refers to the systematic intentional destruction of an education system, targeting both the physical infrastructure and the network of people essential for the education system to function. In my research with Palestinian university students in the West Bank almost a decade ago, students argued that Israeli raids on West Bank universities, closures, arrests, administrative detention, and violence were all used systematically to impede Palestinian education. Today's session gives us an opportunity to see how Palestinian universities and academics are currently navigating the escalation of scholasticide in the West Bank. It gives me great pleasure to introduce today's speakers who will examine different aspects of this. First, we will hear from Dr. Samah Jarad, Assistant Professor of English Language and Literature at Palestine Technical University, Khadori. Dr. Jarrad's research explores post-colonial and feminist narratives, translation, and identity. She is a translator and language specialist for international NGOs who has extensive experience in language education and curriculum development. She is a leading scholar in English studies within Palestine and across the broader Middle Eastern academic landscape. Our second speaker is Dr. Anwar Abdelrazak, Dean of the Faculty of Education at Birzeit University. Before joining the university, Dr. Abdelrazak worked for more than 20 years in primary, secondary, and university education as an instructor and administrator in countries including the USA and Canada. He is a Fulbright scholar who has published more than a dozen articles in academic journals, 3 books on foreign language education and leadership, and 6 book chapters. In addition, he has given numerous presentations at international conventions. It's now my pleasure to hand over to Dr. Jarad.
Okay, thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, Dr. Aisha, for the introduction, and I'm very happy to be joining you today. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share the experience of me as a Palestinian, as a faculty member who's working at Palestine Technical University, Khaduri, and as most importantly, as a Palestinian who's witnessing firsthand the atrocities and the excruciating circumstances that have been impacting and affecting our university life in general. So if you allow me, I'd like to share a presentation, a very short presentation and a shorter video at the beginning. So Ahmed, if you allow me to share the screen.
I think you're allowed now.
Okay, yes, good. Thank you very much. Okay, so the video is actually translated into English. So if you can't understand the voiceover, you can look at the English translation subheadings.
ما زالت تعاني من بطش هذا المحتل، فقد صادر أراضيها خلف جدار الفصل العنصري، ما جعلها على خط التماسي مع دولة الاحتلال. ما زالت تعاني من بطش هذا المحتل، فقد صادر أراضيها خلف جدار الفصل العنصري، ما جعلها على خط التماسي مع دولة الاحتلال، وأصبحت عرضة لاقتحامات متكررة، بل وأقام الاحتلال لسنوات معسكرا تدريبيا على أراضيها، ما جعل الطلبة ومكونات الجامعة أهدافا لأسلحته، فارتقى العشرات من الطلبة شهداء، وجرح آخرون، وأسر آخرون. وما زال الاحتلال يضيق الخناق بعرقلة العملية التعليمية بنصب.
Okay, so the video that you've just seen is actually a video that depicts my beloved university, Palestine Technical University, Khaduri, and the situation that has been ongoing for years and years now. So the clips that you've just seen are not actually a reflection of actions that happened or events that happened after October the 7th. Some of the clips were actually part of incursions at the university's campus back in 2018. So I just wanted to highlight this point before I start. The violations of the sanctity of the university have not started on October the 7th. Neither has the obstruction of the Palestinian mobility started back then as well. So it has been an ongoing struggle since the beginning of occupation, but it has intensified indeed after October the 7th or post October the 7th. So first of all, an overview of my talk. I will talk about the context, the escalating violence and repression in targeting higher education institutions. I will specify Palestine Technical University Khaduri, and I will talk about the patterns of experiences across West Bank universities, and the implications of what that actually means, and the action that we wish others would actually take upon when hearing and listening to our plights and our circumstances. So back to scholasticide, as mentioned by Dr. Aisha, the term describes the systematic and deliberate destruction of educational systems. Another coined term is idiocide, which is actually, as you can see, it is clearly linked to the word genocide. And this is what is actually happening to our institutions and our educational systems. Our infrastructure, our university infrastructures are deliberately and continuously targeted by a military occupation. And of course, this does not only encompass physical destruction of the campus and its facilities, it also encroaches to the level of mass arrests of the students and educators as well as institutionalized censorship and surveillance, and strategic isolation of the universities and the Palestine Technical University Khaduri as well from global knowledge and networks. So, of course, this works or functions to weaken collective knowledge and to erase the cultural identity of Palestinians and suppress their capacity for future liberation. Now, talking about the escalation since 2023, October 2023, how does the escalation look like? So basically, military raids, incursions, as you've seen in the video, using live ammunitions during class times, tear gas bombs against the students, against the faculties, mass arrests. So students are detained, as Dr. Aisha mentioned at the beginning of the talk. The detention is usually held under no pretenses, so they basically administratively detained. So basically, this means no trial, nothing. Students are detained basically indefinitely. Of course, one of the things that has been very much affecting our education is the movement restrictions, the mobility, and the ability to access the university systems. So at my university now, it's actually not allowed by the university law to take attendance, which was a mandatory part of the educational system before the event, because lots of students are not allowed to or are not able to access the university. So of course, this has been a double pressure on the students and on us as well as educators, because not only do I have to deliver the class face to face to those who could access the university, who could come, I also have to record it and upload it to the students who can't, but they have to attend the university and to sit for the exams in the university, which of course does not give them equal chances and equal opportunities as opposed to the students who attended the classes face to face. But this is the situation right now. So physical destruction, there has been a lot of demolition and damage of the university's labs, greenhouses even, and of course, like the major, let's say the major thing, the major event has been the confiscation of academic land. So this happened. This was before October the 7th, but the amount that was confiscated was actually bigger and increased after October the 7th. Now, I'll leave this point to Dr. Anwar because he's going to talk about the legislative efforts to delegitimize Palestinian academic degrees and to prevent graduates from employment opportunities. Dr. Anwar, I believe, is going to talk elaborately on this. Now, PTUK as a case study. So since October 2023, 20 students and academic staff members have been killed. Some of those were killed on the spot. Others succumbed to their wounds weeks, some months later. 50 were injured, physically speaking, as far as mental well-being goes, and as far as psychological trauma, there have been no accurate estimates because under the situation, mental health has not been given a priority, unfortunately, and a lot of people have not been able to report like the aftermath of how their feelings and how their mental well-being has been in the aftermath of such events. 43 students and the staff members have been imprisoned. The number of military raids have reached up to 31 incursions on the main campus and the branches. So our main campus is in Tulkarem, which is in the northern part of the West Bank, and we have two other campuses in Al Arub, which is in Hebron, in the south, and in Ramallah, kind of in the center of Palestine. So 90% of the students have access to the university, and their mobility has been obstructed, and we still see it today. So I go to a class with 50 students registered. I see 10, probably 12, like at best. And unfortunately, 27 dunums of the university's property and land have been confiscated and seized as military property. So what do these raids look like? So as you saw in the video again, armed forces enter during class times. Military forces storm the campus during lectures while students are in sessions. They draw their weapons, firing live ammunition at the students. And sometimes, of course, they resort to tear gas bombs, which leads to utter chaos in the university's campus. Students start running, the staff start trying to evacuate, and things get really messy. Of course, under such circumstances, we're forced to evacuate. And again, because it's mass evacuation and we have not received the proper training on how to do this. And even if you have received under such circumstances, it's very hard to follow up like with the exact steps and procedures in order to evacuate. So, and sometimes students have been forced to evacuate at gunpoint. And of course, this is something that has become normal, the confiscation of CCTV recordings. So they have been seized multiple times, and this, of course, has been for the sole purpose of acquiring their atrocities and their incursions into the campus, so that we cannot share those and we cannot, propagate those at a higher level. So violence on academic ground, again, live ammunitions, tear gas bombs within the university's premises, which has led to injuries of students and staff members. And of course, there has been lots of bans on students' unions. They are not allowed to raise flags inside the university's camps. No sort of collective political expression is allowed. So basically, students, and especially students, I would say political leaders or students' organizations and unions, again are always targeted by the military occupation, and the hundreds of students have been arrested and held under administrative detention. Of course, this again, administrative detention, it means that you can hold somebody indefinitely without charge, without a trial, and without time limits. Of course, the criminalization of student activism is not incidental. It represents the criminalization of Palestinian political identity itself. Okay, so higher education, again, is viewed as a threat, not a right, under the occupation. And of course, this has been a deterrent for a long-term stability when it comes to Palestine and Palestinians. So as for academic isolation and knowledge control, there have been lots of entry bans. So as a university, we have lots of networks. We network with lots of academics, lots of researchers, and we have been trying to invite international delegations even even before the war, and they have been systematically denied entry into the West Bank and into Palestinian universities. So like it goes two ways. Foreign academics and researchers are not allowed in, and there are lots of travel restrictions on us as Palestinians, as holders of Palestinian passports. We're often denied visas. Sometimes even passports get confiscated, and this prevents us from participating fully in research collaborations and in conferences around the world.
Okay, got 2 minutes left.
Okay, so I'm going to hurry up. Of course, there has also been equipment blockades and partnership suppressions. Okay, I'm going to leave this part again to Dr. Anwar, and I'm going to move straight to the last slide. So why higher education matters? Because basically universities are spaces for identity, memory, and political imagination. And of course, education forms an essential long-term infrastructure for self-determination, collective resilience, and future possibility. And destroying education means the destruction of our cultural identity and the destruction of our intellectual continuity. And we see our education as an important part of our resilience and our resistance through learning. So studying under siege is not only an act of getting by, it's an act of resistance for us, it's an act of steadfastness. Now, my final call to action would be for international academics, institutions, and solidarity organizations to move beyond symbolic gestures and to move to concrete action through academic partnerships, advocacy for access, protection of scholars, and public accountability. I guess I'm done with my 2 minutes, right, Dr. Aisha? All right. I'm going to stop sharing now. Thank you very much for listening.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute. You had 30 seconds left. Thank you so much. That was a brilliant talk. So now I'd like to hand over to Dr. Anwar Abdar Razik.
Dr. Anwar, you're muted. Sorry.
So we can't hear you at the moment
Okay.
because you were muted.
Okay, now that's good.
Yes, that's better. Thank you. Yes.
That's so I have to repeat what I said. Well, thank you for inviting me to talk about this new law that will affect all the Palestinian universities. But first, good afternoon to our colleagues in the UK. I think it's after 4 o'clock, and good evening to our colleagues and friends in Palestine. It's because it's like 6:21 now. Now, the focus of my short talk is about a new Israeli law that prohibits the employment of Palestinian university graduates in the education sector. This law just came recently. The first reading passed at the Knesset, and they are still debating that. But there's an education committee at the Israeli Knesset that approved a draft legal amendment prohibiting the employment of a teacher holding an academic degree from any Palestinian university located in the territories of the Palestinian Authority. Now, the draft was approved, as I said at the beginning, by a committee level. However, it still requires approval in the second and third readings before the Knesset General Assembly for it becomes a law. Now, as the legal and political experts who were consulted expect that the law will be passed in the second and third readings after the Knesset sits end of October. Now, there are two laws, but they're very similar, but one of them is just in general, one just only targets teachers. The first one, I'm quoting here literally what it says: prohibition of employing a teacher who holds an academic degree from a higher education institution in the territories of the Palestinian Authority. The second one also, just notice the words that have been chosen. Also, I'm quoting here literally, prohibition of employing a worker in the field of education who holds an academic degree from a higher education institution affiliated with the Palestinian Authority. The difference between the first law and the second law, the first law specifies teachers, the second one, worker. As you will see later, what does that imply? What does it imply when we say worker? Basically, we take everyone, principals, supervisors, anyone has a degree in education. Now, what is the reason behind this law? Again, I'm going to quote exactly what they stated in the law that they presented to the Knesset. The reason behind it to prevent the harmful influence of the Palestinian Authority, which opposes the state of Israel and its values, and to preserve the values of education in the state of Israel as a Jewish and democratic state as defined in its law. Basically, this is really not true. Now, what this law include basically or cover the entire education sector, including teaching positions and supervisory roles. In the first law, they specified teachers. In the second law, the other education positions, such as principals, inspectors, or even consultants. It will also apply to private schools, as the Ministry of Education will not grant licenses of approvals to individuals holding degrees from Palestinian universities. Now, there are so many private schools in East Jerusalem and 1948 area. Those schools are funded by the Ministry of Education. Now, they will not be able to hire teachers from the Palestinian universities because they will hold the funds and basically stop supporting them financially. Regarding the Israeli schools, they already took the decision not to employ any graduates from the Palestinian universities. Now, let me give you an idea about the number of East Jerusalem students, just basically at Birzeit, as an example, because we are so close from East Jerusalem, 20 minutes, and many students come to us, and also 1948 here. The number of students enrolled at Birzeit University who hold Jerusalem residency IDs or Israeli citizenship during the 24-25 academic year reached about 1,982 male and female students, representing 16% of the university population. These students are distributed across the various faculties of the university, which I'll explain later their distribution. Now, the faculties that most commonly lead to teaching professions are three main ones: Faculty of Education, followed by the Faculty of Arts and the Faculty of Science. Basically, the Faculty of Arts, we have English majors, we have history majors, we have geography majors who finish their BA degree at that college, and then they come to the Faculty of Education for diploma, for certificate, to be able to practice teaching. The same thing for the Faculty of Science. They major in physics, chemistry, biology, other areas, and they will come to the Faculty of Education to get their diploma in order to be licensed to teach in East Jerusalem. Now, you will see right now the impact. The data that we collected indicate that the Faculty of Education, which is my faculty right now, which I'm a dean of, it will be the most affected by the new law. And we felt this impact the beginning of this year. Basically, we have 0 students from East Jerusalem in 1948 at both the BA level and the master level. Now, currently, basically at the Faculty of Education, 51% of undergraduate students come from East Jerusalem. Basically, we have 554 students, 286 of them are from East Jerusalem. And also at the master level, they constitute 40% from the number of the students. We have 132 master students, 54 of them are from the East Jerusalem and 1948 occupied territories. Now, the Faculty of Arts, they are in a similar situation, but let's see back. Basically, 22% of their students come from East Jerusalem, which means 343 out of 1,541 students. And basically, at the master level, 22%. Basically, 20 out of 89 MA students at the Faculty of Arts. The Faculty of Science, this impact, they represent 17% or almost 18% of the undergraduate students, 55 out of 308 students, and at the graduate level, 15% of the master students, 6 out of 40. Now, if you see from the statistics that I just mentioned, the Faculty of Education is the most affected by this law. And as I said again, we felt this impact beginning of the 25-26 school year, which we have 0 students come from Jerusalem in 1948. And now we can see how we are going to circumvent this and then be able to attract maybe these students one more. Now, this law is in violation of not only the international law, but also the Israeli law itself. The draft Israeli Knesset law prohibiting the employment of Palestinian university graduates in the education sector constitutes a violation of the principles of international human rights law, international humanitarian law, and also Israeli law. This law not only infringes upon the individual rights of persons, but also undermines fundamental collective rights of Palestinians in Jerusalem by targeting them based on the location of their higher education. This effectively entrenches structural discrimination against them and also contributes to the enforcement of an apartheid system against the Palestinian population. Despite the inherently colonial and discriminatory nature of the Israeli law itself, the new draft law also exceeds the boundaries of the internal Israeli legal standards, as it violates constitutional principles that claim to protect human dignity and are founded on equality, freedom of work, and access to education. Now, having said all of this, now we are in the process at the Faculty of Education and even also at the university, try to find out how we are going to meet this challenge. Even today, we received a call, an invitation from 2 members of the Palestinians who live in Israel, in the Israeli Knesset. They would like to come to Birzeit University to discuss this further and see how they will be able to help. But at this time, we thought about certain mechanisms that we can do in order to overcome this challenge. The first one is, well, basically a joint degree programs with some international universities, which we are right now pursuing. And also we have also to seek the academic support from international universities. As Dr. Samah mentioned, we need more than just objection or condemnation. We need really real actions to stop this the violence and also the discrimination against the Palestinian universities. Also, the private schools in East Jerusalem, there are so many of them, and many parents send their kids to their schools. These schools will not be able to hire Palestinian graduates who live there and work there. But basically, funding is an issue. We need to be able to find maybe separate ways to fund these schools in order to allow them not to depend on the Israeli Ministry of Education and able to hire Palestinian teachers. And also, it will be nice, and I will be doing that personally with my MA students and PhD students to document the effect of the new Israeli law on the Palestinian institutions. That's really brief in a nutshell, briefly, and I will be very happy to answer any questions that might you have. Thank you for listening to me.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you for keeping within your time. That was another excellent talk. So if anyone has any questions, please, would you post them in the chat and then we'll start taking questions from the chat. But to begin with, I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. So I wanted to start with Dr. Samah Jarrad. So given what impact do all the obstacles, threats of death, actual death, violence, and detentions have on student enrollment?
Well, to be honest, I mean, student enrollment has not been affected. Like since I've been a staff member at the university since 10 years now, for 10 years, sorry. And it has not been as impactful as you might actually think, because again, Palestinians view education as a way to escape. Actually, it's like an escape to freedom. They're only gate away from the misery that they live in. But unfortunately, since October the 7th, it's been the financial situation of the parents that has deterred the students from enrolling in the universities. So for us, we have noticed that the numbers have actually decreased a lot by all means in comparison to the previous years. And like if you research the situation further, you find that this is actually financially motivated rather than being student or parent motivated.
Okay, yes, that's really important. And we were talking about more effective international support. Is one area in which it would be valuable for the international communities to offer support in finding bursaries for students to be able to continue the studies that they can no longer afford to do?
Yes, yes, that would be excellent actually, because I've seen lots of very talented students, very smart, intellectual students who would really like to pursue an education but are not able to do that because of the financial aspect, which is of course understandable given the fact that a lot of families have lost their income because as you know, Palestinians are not allowed to go work in Israel as they used to do before, which was the livelihood of more than 50% of the Karmi society, I would say. So a lot of people live also in the work in the public sector, which also has not been receiving its salaries in full. So this has been ongoing for the past 5 years, actually, not since October the 7th. So public employees receive 50%, 60%, a maximum 70% of their original salaries, which has also impacted all aspects of life, as you can imagine.
Yes, no, of course. Thank you so much. And now I can't see any questions in the chat. I'm not sure if I'm missing them or if they've not come in yet, but please do, as you think of questions, please do add them to the chat. So I also have a question for Dr. Anwar Abdelrazak. So given all what you've described about the apartheid system and this new law, which is in violation both of Israeli law and international law, what are the grounds given, you said it passed the first, it passed the first reading? What are the grounds what are the excuses that mean it's allowed to be going through the system? How is it being justified?
Well, I mean, if you listen to me, basically the main reason that has been stated in the law that presented to the Knesset, basically to prevent the harmful of the Palestinian Authority to the education system and the Israeli values, which is totally bogus and basically doesn't make any sense. There is no whatsoever. Basically, they are claiming the Palestinian graduates who teach in East Jerusalem in 1948 brainwash the Palestinian children who go to school and they teach them, which is totally unacceptable because they are really closely observed. Teachers teach even the Israeli curriculum that they don't believe in, that's also distorting the facts about Palestine and eliminating every single thing that has to do with Palestinian culture, Palestinian language, and Palestinian traditions. Even they are not allowed to celebrate anything, even Ramadan or Eid al-Fitr or anything that has to do with the Palestinian culture at those, both private schools and public schools. Basically, this law has been introduced by the far right, and it was a shock for us. It was approved, as I said, in the first reading, but consulting with our colleagues in 1948 and East Jerusalem, they will say definitely it will pass the second and the third reading with this current government. And also, basically, again, and it will be passed or didn't pass. We already felt the impact. We lost all our East Jerusalem students at both the master level and the BA level. 50% of our BA students are from East Jerusalem. 40% of our students in the master level are from East Jerusalem. So basically right now our enrollment went down. In addition to the Arab faculty like the Faculty of Science and also the Faculty of Arts. So basically, it's that's the accusation.
Okay, I can see I was looking at the wrong screen. I can see that there are some questions in the chat, so I don't want to take up much more time. I just wanted to quickly, though, ask whether or not, in response to the question I just asked before, that sounded like more of a motivation than legal basis. So are they providing any legal basis or just a justification for why they think the law's needed?
This is the only justification stated in the law that's presented to the Knesset, Israeli Parliament, and even when we discussed the law and its implications, some of our colleagues in the law system advise us to go to court and challenge them. And as I said, today I received a call from two colleagues. One of them is a judge, a lawyer in Nazareth in 1948. Basically, he would like to come to Birzeit and meet with the committee with another activist, basically to see what they will be able to do. And believe me, if we go to the to court, it's going to drag for a long time, and it's not going to yield really any results. So basically, we need to find out some other ways to overcome this challenge. And believe me, there are some students, with a handful. This semester in first semester, they came to Birzeit and say, okay, we don't know, we were not planning to work in the education sector. We're going to get our degrees from Birzeit, but this is just only 10, 15 students, where compared to what 50% of our students. So basically, we need to be able to find a way how to overcome this. We're not just going to sit idle and do nothing. We are also, as I said before, right now we are working with a great university in the UK that they are basically planning, inshallah, to work with us to build a joint MA program down the road. And I hope that will be successful to attract at least the MA students in some of our master programs.
Thank you so much. Now let's get some of these questions from the chat. So we've got a question from someone called Michael, who asks, how is higher education funded for students? My understanding is that if a student secures above 85%, then they can secure funding.
Listen, Palestinian students, I'm going to talk for Birzeit and most universities, they don't pay more than 40% of their fees. It's like $1,000 a semester, which is totally nothing compared to other institutions. Now it's subsidized. Also, we have basically a center, the Public Relations Office, that takes funding, collecting donations from many countries and even individuals to support students' tuition fees. Those who basically can't pay at all, they will be able to pay in installments. Right now, we are in the maybe 7 week of the first semester, number one. The registration is still going on because we have maybe 1,500 students who are unable to pay whatsoever, but we will allow them to register. Having not able to pay is not going to stop them from taking courses. We find ways in order to help them register for the semester and even sometimes paying installments or even getting some support from some donors to be able to help them go to university. Again, I'm going to talk about something also cultural. Believe me, education for the Palestinian families and Palestinian culture is really sacred. Mom and dad will save every single dollar, every single shekel to send their daughter or their child to university. They sacrifice so much for that. And also, we try to help as much as I can to give every Palestinian who is able and capable to come to university to pursue their higher education. And money will not an issue. And we try to help, and we are helping as much as we can.
Thank you so much. So we have another couple of questions in the chat. Matt Osman from Falmouth University says, I work in a UKHE School of Art and would be grateful to learn of practical ways to connect with equivalent Palestinian institutions to look at how we might offer more than symbolic support as individuals, departments, or unions.
That's wonderful. Please, and I just please send them my contacts, and I'll be more than happy to contact them, communicate with them, work with them at Birzeit or University or any other Palestinian university. We'll be very happy to do that. Please.
That's brilliant. They put then their contact details in the chat so we can connect you directly with them. So that's very helpful. And then we've also got a comment, a question from TK London Secondary. It says, Israeli lobby groups in the UK are repressing Palestine solidarity in secondary and higher education in the UK. How can we collectively combat this?
You see what's going on right now in the media and the narrative about the Palestinian West Bank and also Gaza is totally inaccurate. One thing that we as Palestinians and also as supportive other colleagues internationally who support Palestine just basically provide the facts, provide the narrative, correct the narrative that's being used against the Palestinian people and also against the Palestinian higher education institutions. And take, for instance, this new law. Basically, it doesn't make any sense. They are accusing Palestinian graduates brainwashing Palestinian children in East Jerusalem in 1948, which is totally untrue. And also they are supervised. Teachers really cannot even change a single word in the Israeli curriculum. That's really sometimes in some cases, in all cases, it is basically distorting the facts, distorting everything. And that's one thing that we could do in order to support the Palestinians in West Bank, in Gaza, and also the graduate institutions by giving them the right, correct information. We need to be able to communicate in writing, in making presentations like this, cooperating with our colleagues at British universities in order to be able to convey and send the right message. Now, every night I listen for a couple of hours to international news. Really, it is sometimes, including the Israeli news. And what they are talking about, it doesn't make any sense. It's really not true. And if we just rely on the media conveying to information, that's not good. Look what happened right now in the US, in the UK, and most Eastern countries supporting the people in Gaza. Not because of the media, it's because the social media, TikTok itself, it served the Palestinian cause more than anything else you can imagine. Because right now, students at higher education in the UK, in France, in the US, basically, they watch what's going on and they will say, okay, for their people, you're teaching us something and supporting something else. Where's the values? Where's the freedom? Where's the dignity? Where's the respect for human rights? So basically, they are able to see exactly what is going on the ground in West Bank and Gaza. This is sending the right information, the right message to those people, rather than relying on reports by journalists who sometimes biased to the Israelis in Amina, do not really convey the full picture.
Thank you so much. And then we have a follow-on question from Michael Mahadeo, who asks, is it possible to get copies of your papers today? And would it be possible for you to be cited in using from those papers?
I don't mind if Dr. Samah also, she could say
Actually,
something.
yeah, I don't mind sharing the presentation, and we also have documentations, documented papers on this in the university's campus, so I can get copies and share them for sure.
That's great. Thank you so much. And then TK London Secondary has made a couple of extra comments. They've said, for example, the Board of Deputies of British Jews are currently trying to change religious education curricula via the Department for Education in the UK. This question is more for UK educators as a collective. And then they say they want to equate Judaism with Zionism and the State of Israel. So that's like a comment for people to think about and reflect on as well. I was going to ask a question, but someone else, George Clutterbuck, has got a question for Samah, Dr. Samah. How does the ongoing scholasticide impact scholars' efforts to carry out and disseminate their research, particularly internationally? Thanks so much.
So thank you very much for asking this question. It's been really hard to try to disseminate. So I personally work with literature that is based on Palestine and the Palestinian narrative, and as I like to call it, the Palestinian facts from my point of view. And lots of papers have been rejected, have received disc rejections based on the fact that I talk about Palestine from a Palestinian perspective. So it's been really challenging, like banning the talk about Palestine and even in the scholarly research, which is supposed to be our avenue for trying to promote our narrative and for trying to share our perspectives. It's supposed to be the objective side for us to reach out to the world, and unfortunately, a lot of our research has been banned because of this. I've been trying to publish a paper on, and it has received very good criticism, but I've been receiving disc rejections multiple times based on the fact that it touches upon sensitive topics and ideas that people really and journals don't really like to go through and put themselves in a position that they might be questioned by lobbyists and people who support Israel. So even though they're not extreme and like in whatever way you might think of.
So just to follow up then on George's question, so would you say there's an increased silencing of Palestinian academics at the moment?
Yes, I would say it. Yeah, this is a good phrasing for that.
Please come in.
I will just add to clarify for this question. Recently, we have a special issue at Harvard University that published basically 15 manuscripts about Palestine. The issue was approved. It was just ready to go. And the last minute was stopped, canceled because of the Israeli lobby in the States, and they canceled the whole issue. And you can find a lot of information about the issue in many languages. Now, the authors of these articles, basically, some of them are from the US, some of them are from here in Palestine. They worked so hard to find another journal to accept to publish this special issue. And Curriculum Inquiry, Q1 journal at University of Toronto, accepted to publish the whole issue. Right now it's in the process. The articles are accepted. It's coming maybe in a couple of months. So this is an example of how sometimes Palestinian scholars face challenges in publishing their manuscripts. Sometimes, well, I mean, I know it's a blind review when you submit an article to a journal, but sometimes really Palestinian scholars face difficulty in publishing in reputable journals, Q1, Q2, Q3, especially the English journals. Not only that, so basically resources at universities are very limited. Now, it's great that we have access to the internet and we can have access to open access journals to get articles, but our libraries are really very poor in terms of the books that we have because they are restricted and everything has to come through the Israeli borders and they have to check everything. So that is one thing also impacting the Palestinian scholars in being updated and having the most recent updates in their areas of research. And having said that, in spite of all of this, they keep working hard and they keep cooperating with other colleagues from other universities. For instance, I lived more than 30 years in the States and I have so many friends. So when I need an article, I just send an email to my colleague Shelly or Anita, just send me that article through their own library. And they are so courteous and so helpful in providing us. And I have most of my friends also graduated from the US and the UK and have connections basically when they need an article or a textbook or something, they will be able to give that. So basically, doing research is really challenging. And by the way, for Birzeit University, for instance, it's a research university. And we publish every year more than 250, 300 articles totally by the faculty members. And they do encourage that strongly because it's just not only teaching and learning, but also production of knowledge, publishing new things about education, social life, about culture, science, everything. But in spite of all the challenges that we encounter, it's really moving on. And I always say to my colleagues at university, and also when I present outside, when they ask us a question, how you are managing and how you are living, my answer will be get busy living or get busy dying. We don't have a choice. We need to be basically living is a struggle. I'll tell you here an example. I live in Rawabi, 10 minutes from Birzeit University. I left my office at 4 o'clock in two occasions. One occasion, I got to my house at 2:30 in the morning, basically staying at the checkpoint. Another time, I slept in my car. Even my house is 10 minutes from where I am. I slept in my car until the next morning, and I got to my house at 12 noon. See the struggle that people are going through, but still, we are dreaming to have one calendar year to go smoothly from September until June. But there are so many disruptions, so many changes in the system, but we don't have a choice but to keep going, keep fighting, because living is a resistance. working is resistance, education is resistance, everything is in West Bank here is basically resistance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to ask a follow-on question to Dr. Gerard, thinking about all the comments that have been made here, and also you're talking about the fact you have to give your in-person lectures and then you have to then record the lecture again. And I'm thinking about, and also you talked about labs being destroyed, greenhouses being destroyed. I'm thinking about then the burden on academic staff of having all of this extra work and what toll that's taking.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as you've mentioned, it's very burdening to us to have to deliver the classes in the university face to face, and then to record them. But at the same time, there's like this guilt complex that whatever you do, you're never satisfied with what you're giving, even though we have lots of things to do, even though everybody is busy with life and with kids, and on top of that, you're busy with as Dr. Anwar just mentioned, moving from one point to another means having to go through lots of checkpoints and being delayed multiple times, and also with the financial cost that comes with that as well. It's as you said, it's very burdening, but at the same time, I feel it is a part of my duty to have this knowledge be dispatched to the students, because again, it's either this or they look for other ways to try to survive. And what we want them is to get an education and to try thinking about ways to not only to adapt, but to get free from all the shackles that they have been faced with all the to try to think of a better future, not only for themselves but for their community and for their country as a whole. So I think that this is very important for us Palestinians, because we see the future in our kids. When I look at the university students, I really feel sad, but it also empowers me and gives me a surge of I don't know, like hope, because in spite of all of this, we still try, as again, as Dr. Anwar has mentioned, despite all of the mobility restrictions, despite all of the checkpoints, we still manage to get there. And it is our duty as the faculty to cooperate with that and to try to make education as accessible as possible. The burden is something that we can deal with. We see this as a part of our, again, duty as professionals and as academics to make knowledge at least accessible to those students.
Thank you so much for that. So I want to read out a comment from EM. They say, I work with a solidarity organization in my field pushing for an academic boycott of Israel. And one thing we have noticed is that the program of isolation of Palestinian academia that Dr. Gerard mentioned has worked. Many international organizations in my field express their solidarity with our colleagues in other countries, but when finally bringing themselves to speak on what's happening in Palestine, never once mention our Palestinian colleagues. They don't seem to have or know Palestinian colleagues. It seems so important that we build highly organized international solidarity networks in education in general, in higher education, and in our individual fields. And we have a question as well from, apologies if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Thayer Hussein. Do you see a distinct pedagogy in research emerging now from Palestinian classrooms, a pedagogy comparable to Freire or Fanon, but rooted in our community's lived struggle, in the blood rooted in the present? I'm not sure what that means, but maybe you understand. For instance, over these past handful of years, that there are educators such as yourselves or the martyr Bassel al-Araj, who has become popularized, iconic in the decolonial studies around the world. We see institutions such as Birzeit and the Technical University continuing their historical precedents in educated practice to shield against colonial invaders such as Israel or neocolonialism such as the Authority. How do you maintain continuity of curriculum in these fields when institutions themselves are constantly surveyed, raided, or disrupted? Does resilience itself become a pedagogical lesson, or is that romanticizing struggle?
Well, I believe, to be honest, I mean, if you ask any Palestinian, they're not going to say that they're happy with their life. So, but you have to get by somehow. It's not romanticizing struggle. It's actually us doing what we have to do in order to live. But when it comes to being censored, as Palestinian universities, we still have some sort of freedom in teaching our narrative, I would say. So fortunately, so far, we have not faced any problems as with regards to the pedagogies or the curricula that we teach at the university level, I mean. We are free to talk about our Palestinian icons. I would say we are free to teach our narrative and to discuss this with the students, of course, because you want to hear their perspectives. You want to nourish their critical thinking skills, and you want them to say what they believe in. So we have a very open floor for discussion with our students. But unfortunately, at the school levels, there have been lots of disruptions, and there has been a lot of censorship, and there have been lots of requests by Israel and demands. Like I know for a fact that the school students still don't have textbooks. They don't have their textbooks until now. It's almost the middle of the school year because there have been asked for changes to the school curriculum. So again, so far we're free to teach our own narrative, but like in the future, nobody knows because policies keep changing, laws keep changing. I don't know what's going to happen or what we're going to expect. But like it's the only part of our lives that is still not censored. But again, at the same level, I know for a fact that some of my faculty members, colleagues have been detained under false pretenses of teaching like politics to the students. So even though we are free to speak our minds, there are consequences at lots of the time, which kind of deters some of the faculties from engaging in or talking about politics.
Thank you so much. So we're almost out of time. So I just wanted to thank both of our speakers, Dr. Samah Jarad and Dr. Anwar Abdulrazak, for their wonderful talks and for the engagement with the questions that everyone has had. And ultimately, I think at this particular moment in the UK, so many of us who have particular politics are finding it a very difficult time to find sources of hope. And it's extremely powerful to hear the kind of commitment to seeing hope and to continuing to push forward and to challenge and to try and find solutions. I find that it's very inspiring and it's really important, and we all need to be learning from that ourselves as well. I wondered if everyone could be unmuted so that we can all thank our speakers audibly.
We'll do it in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, now it's
I think some people are still muted, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Always. We'll never quit.
Free Palestine.
Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Dr. Aisha and Dr. Anwar and Dr. Samah.
Thank you so
Very
much.
much.
Thanks a lot.